Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. That's obviously Craig saying, but obviously, if you don't know, Craig's gone into a little bit of therapy over the next few weeks. So we wish him well on that. And unfortunately, it ties in with a Monday night. So unfortunately, he can't be here for the next couple of weeks. I don't think it's about 4 weeks. So unfortunately, got me for the next 4 weeks trying to do this, which is obviously not as good as Craig, but I will do my best. So welcome to the same old Arsenal. And well, I imagine that we're all quite happy after yesterday's events and looking at the league table as well. I don't think we're going to be too disappointed with that as well. Of course, we've got our sponsor now, boys, and that is, of course, Fans Bet. And I don't know if you noticed, I've done a little bit of a writing from this week.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I've expanded my my things and I've done a little bit of rifle, which I thoroughly enjoyed as happens. But I can tell you now, boys, you know, when they say you've got to do 500 words, it's like 500 lines at school, you know what I mean, in the old days, and it was quite daunting, but I got through it and I quite enjoyed it, like, you know. So without further ado, let's get on with it, because I've been buzzing since yesterday, like, you know. I'm not gonna lie, boys, going into the game, I was a little bit nervous going into it. I thought that we could slip up on this one, seeing that Man United won the day before, Spurs had also won. We always thought that Chelsea was going to win. But the big game later on, there was always a possibility that a couple of those two teams could drop points, and it happened that they both did, which we have a little discussion about that, whether we think that's a good thing or a bad thing. But going into that game, first up yesterday, teed off, didn't we? And my God, what a performance. And my little intake of it first was we totally dominated it from start to finish, but Monreal, who I have to say this, at half time, if he walked past me, I could have killed. I'll be honest, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't my favourite player at half time. Suicide that was, after what we thought was a good half. And then I thought again, oh no, this is going to be a tricky half, you know, like we'd experienced quite a lot last season. But what happened after that? Well, the second half, just you know, I have to say, boys, you know, we're also going to throw it out now. All 5 goals were sensational goals. You know, pick. You know, match of the day should have all 5 of them on there as great goals. You know, the first one from Lacazette was fantastic. The second goal was who got the second goal? Was that Lacazette as well? Wasn't it Lacazette's one when he cut inside? Yeah, fantastic strike. You know what I mean? Can't think of it then. And obviously we're going to talk about the sensational Aaron Ramsey goal. And then I thought Aubameyang come on, and I thought was sensational with his 2 strikes. So anyway, enough of me rambling on. I'm only the host today, so let's see what you got to say. Harry, what do you reckon of that today? Well, yesterday?
Yeah, I think you touched on most of it. It was a great performance, really enjoyable, put a smile back on my face, and people singing, you know, we've got our Arsenal back. It was exactly that, you know, exciting football, attacking football. You know, yes, we had a couple of moments in the first half defensively where it was a little bit concerning, but I thought overall, like you said, we dominated the game. The Lacazette is just on fire at the moment. And I mean, that first goal, the touch, and to hit it on the turn like that, that is a striker playing with real confidence. And I've thoroughly enjoyed that. His second goal as well, you know, it was kind of like a snapshot. He took the keeper by surprise, sort of hitting it as early as he did. And you know, on BT Sport, they were criticising the goalkeeper for conceding that. And I thought that was a little bit harsh, because it was hit with real venom and it caught him by surprise. So just great striking play rather than sort of a criticism of the goalkeeper. I know Graham's going to touch on it in more detail, but the formation was different. I'll let Graham come in on that, because obviously that's his area of expertise, and it's something he's been crying out for a while. But just before I hand it over, you know, I must admit, when I saw the team sheet come out and I saw that Iwobi and Welbeck were both in there, that Mkhitaryan was in there, because I didn't know that Ozil was out until shortly before the game. So I was a little bit surprised, and I was a little bit concerned, if I'm being honest. And I guess that's down to us being conditioned over the past few years to think that people like Iwobi and Welbeck and squad players can't do the job. Well, what Unai Emery's done since he's come here is he's made them all feel like part of the project. He's got behind everyone. He's given them all the encouragement they need. They all know what they're doing. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And as a result of that, players are able to slot into the team and do as good a job. Iwobi and Welbeck, prime examples of that this season. They've both been brilliant when they've played. And you know, Welbeck's fighting for another contract.
Yeah, do you think it's a little bit of a surprise? Like, I was a little bit surprised because I think you're dead right what you're saying. We've sort of been like built into this Arsene Wenger program a little bit, like, you know, that you see somebody like Welbeck and Iwobi playing on Thursday night, so you automatically think, well, they're going to be on the bench and a couple of other guys are going to come in. But it seems to me that looking at the team sheet and everything, Harry, that there ain't really no priority of it's who's up next. It's the game, and if you play well, you look like you might keep your shirt. And it seems to be I going around the ground yesterday, everybody was shocked that was. But when you look at it, it was a terrific game plan, I felt, because I felt that, you know, when they was a little bit tired after probably what they'd done in midweek and travelling and all that, on comes Ramsey and Aubameyang, and all of a sudden we're flying again. So do you feel that there is that little change of mentality when we're not looking at one team now, or two teams, you know, difference?
Yeah, because I think taking those players to Karabag like he did, you know, our bench was Martinez. He was the only other fit goalkeeper, and then you had Mustafi on the bench, Xhaka, Torreira, Ozil, Lacazette. I thought it made the point that this is one squad. This is not a Thursday and a Sunday team. This is one squad, and everybody's a part of it. And bringing Ozil on, and you know, you would have never seen that under Arsene Wenger. And for me, that was great to see. You know, there was people worried about it. You know, oh, what if they get injured? Well, this is one squad, and we're taking the Europa League seriously. So I enjoyed seeing that. That goes back to that point I was just making, that everybody feels like they're part of the program now. There's not a first team and a second team. You're all part of it. You're all together. Everyone can do a job, and that's what I love. And we'll come on to the formation, Graham. I
was just before I go on to the formation, Graham, I'm just going to ask you a quick question about that again. Do you think that with Unai Emery, he's actually not giving the players an excuse, Graham, to be tired? You know, like the long journey and all that. No, we'll go again. 12 o'clock kickoff. There was no, you know, I felt under Arsene Wenger sometimes there was always a little excuse. Oh, we're a little bit tired, a little bit this, a little bit that. It seems that we're under Emery, there's no excuses. Well, we've got the game at 12 o'clock, so be it. We'll deal with it. And there didn't seem to be no tiredness whatsoever. Is that something to do with mentality, or do you think that the training has been a little bit different this season? What do you think on that first, Graham?
Well, I think you touched on it there, Lee. I think that he's gotten fitter than last season. I think I've touched on it before myself. He always talks about the work we're doing, Unai Emery, and I think he makes that point quite a lot in his press conferences, and he works the players hard, and I think they are fitter. I think also it's led to a camaraderie, a bonding, a team spirit, and a work ethic, and you see that on the pitch. I think he's made everyone feel part of the squad, and there's accountability now. And also he's bringing players off the bench. They know they've got a role to play. And I think it was no secret that when Ramsey and Aubameyang came on yesterday, that and you saw the way that when they scored that goal, the way the players rang to them, there's a tremendous sort of like team spirit there. You can see it. There's a togetherness, and that comes from the spirit that I think's come from the training ground. I think from day one, he's brought that to the squad and to the players. And I think allied to fitness. And I think whereas Wenger last season obviously made it his priority to go with two different teams, and in fact he always used to use the Carabao Cup as a almost like a for younger players, you know, to sort of bring in younger players. I think Unai Emery has got a track record of wanting to do well in cups. So if you look at his record in the Europa League, he targets sort of cups, and so he basically wants to play strong teams in the cups. And I think he's making everyone feel part of the squad. I like the way he's doing. I love the way he's on the touchline, the way he sort of communicates with his players. And what I took out of that game yesterday was tremendous team spirit, a work ethic. And I think they are fitter, Lee. They are definitely fitter. They worked hard pre-season. I think you can see it, the way that we're scoring goals later in games now, the way we keep going to the end. And I just think it's a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I actually spoke to Alex Iwobi's dad the last game, and I said, "Oh, you know, Alex is playing really well and all that." Lovely fella, his dad, by the way. And he turned around and said, like, you know, they're working really hard, and I think that's a fantastic thing. It's lovely to see. But I'm with you there, Graham, as well on the teams, on the team spirit. I haven't seen it, on an away game for a long time. When was the last time? I think like the last time I can remember is probably when Danny Welbeck jumped into the crowd at that last minute against Leicester. But it was all by the crowd. When Lacazette was singing his name. Now I've been at games when they're singing people's names and they don't respond. Every time they was singing out his name, he'd give it a little wave, and Aubameyang come on. And first thing he done, he was up with the crowd, cheering with them and all that. And you feel like you're part of it again. I feel, when everybody was singing, "We've got our Arsenal back," I don't think that they was being any way like, disrespectful to Arsene Wenger. It was about, like you felt part of it again. I felt under Wenger and probably Gazidis as well, I felt disassociated with the team. But it just seems that they've just brought it back a little bit, and at the end of the game, the whole team is clapping the players off. Like, now I know people will come back and say, "Oh, that's because we're winning. Let's see what it's like when we've lost." But even when we have, Chelsea, and I see the players responding to the fans, and it's great to see. I've got to say that, So no, Graham, you've been dying to come on with this with this system and everything like that. So far away on the new formation that our manager, Mr. Emery, come up with. We've had a little discussion about it before, but far away. What have your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was something I've been calling out for all season, actually. Getting a lot of stick for.
Do you reckon he's been listening to you? Do you reckon he's been listening to you?
I do.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think the first thing to say, actually, is, I don't know if you know, Lee, but he's actually played 3 different formations in a week. He played the 4-2-3-1 against Watford, didn't he? And then we flipped to the 3-4-3 away in Karabag. And then he went 4-4-2. It wasn't quite the formation or the shape of the formation I've been calling out for. I think I've been saying all season, I think we should flip to a diamond midfield 4. With
I think that's what it was, if I'll be honest.
Well, I thought it was more the traditional 4-4-2 with 4 defenders, 2 DMs, 2 wide players, and 2 forwards, and I'll elaborate on that in a minute. It frequently became like a 4-2-2-2 as well. When in possession, it definitely was a 4-4-2 out of possession. And what made it work so effectively is you had like Mkhitaryan and Iwobi in the wide positions working back. So whereas sometimes you don't always get that from your wide players, but I think that as I say, I've been crying out for this 4-4-2. The diamond midfield 4 is what I've always said suits our group of players, and that let me just explain what I would do in a 4-4-2. I would play Torreira at the base. I'll play Xhaka on the left-hand side of the diamond. I'll play a right-sided midfield player on the right of the diamond. That could be Iwobi. It could be, I know Iwobi played on the left yesterday, but I think he can play on the right. Or it could be Ramsey, yeah. And I know Ramsey's leaving now, so there's an argument against that. But you could bring in, we've got sort of central midfield players, a lot of young central midfield players, Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles when he's fit, who could play in that role with physicality and power, who could get up and down. And then Diamond at the front of the diamond would be Mesut Ozil. So that's what I thought suited that a diamond midfield 4. But what he went with yesterday, and I must admit, it was refreshing to see. As I say, I thought he went 4 at the back, and then he had like 2 DMs. He had like Torreira, who I have to say was absolutely fantastic yesterday. Yeah. He is everything that we've lacked in our central midfield and everything that we need in our central midfield. The way he played yesterday, the way he was sort of like sniffing out danger, breaking up attacks. He was sort of like pressurising their midfielders. And I think he was one of the main reasons we actually owned the midfield yesterday, Lee, because basically he was doing so much of the dirty work, and he's just so impressive. And I think a lot of people have been a bit underwhelmed by him, but I think you've got to accept that he's growing into the team. But yesterday I thought was his best performance, along with 1 or 2 others.
Shielded the back 4 as well with some.
I will say, I have to say, and that's one of your catchphrases, isn't it, Lee? But I have to say that I thought Mustafi, who I give a lot of stick to, was absolutely superb yesterday, because the way he dealt with Mitrovic, and he was really on his game yesterday, Mustafi. And a number of times, he defended really well, was sort of like, and Holding was good as well. There was a situation in the first half where Holding had to get the tackle absolutely right in the box, and he did so. in about the 35th minute. But just coming back to that formation again, and why I think it worked so effectively, what he did was he had Lacazette central, and he had Welbeck off him. Welbeck was sort of like putting himself about, doing a lot of running and winning a lot of stuff in the air, flick-ons, and sort of like combining with Lacazette. And we talked about that second goal, and it was a fantastic second goal, but basically it came from the Welbeck flick central. Welbeck was central. He got the flick on, and Lacazette let the ball run across him, opened his body up, and hit it early. And I agree with Harry. I don't blame the goalkeeper for that at all. It would have taken him by surprise. Maybe the defender could have got closer to Lacazette. I get that from a defensive point of view, but you're picking faults in. It's easy to say when you're not actually in a match situation. But he took it really early and hit a fantastic shot. So them two played, I thought, central. And I thought when Aubameyang came on, he was more central to Lacazette as well. His goals were sort of admittedly the first goal where he spun and hit it left-footed in the corner came in the box. But remember, he wasn't getting in the box against Watford, was he? Out wide. But his actual last goal came from a central position when he was played through by Ramsey. So we had like two forwards playing centrally for most of that game. And then we had Mkhitaryan out wide. I know sometimes Welbeck went out wide and Mkhitaryan came inside, but generally, it was a 4-4-2 setup. It was refreshing to see. I think it's our best performance of the season, our most effective performance of the season. And it came for me through playing this 4-4-2. Admittedly, we took advantage of Watford, who played a 3-4-3 because they flipped it in the second half. But he started with 3-4-3 with Christie playing well forward, and we were able to exploit the space in behind. And Iwobi, in particular, was a revelation, driving at them from that wide area. But it was definitely a 4-4-2, and I thought it's our best performance of the season, and it's in a 4-4-2. So it really excited me seeing how well we played in that shape. And I'm not saying we should, continue with a 4-4-2 all the time, because there's an argument that people say to me, well, you can't play a 4-4-2 in the Premiership. You're too open against the big teams. People say to me yesterday, were tweeting me out saying, "Oh, he's not playing 4-2. He's not playing 4-4-2. He's playing a different formation." And then he confirmed it in the press conference afterwards. The next thing I was hit with, well, basically, you won't be able to beat Liverpool playing a 4-4-2. Well, one thing I'd say to people is I watched Napoli last week play a 4-4-2 and beat Liverpool 1-0. So I'm not saying that the 4-4-2 is something we should use all the time. What I like about Emery, and we've touched on it already, not only is he building up a team spirit and the work rate in the team, because I think we matched Fulham. We matched Fulham first half for intensity. And I think once we earn the right to play by doing that, something Wenger teams were not always able to do, then our superior quality took over, and it was an emphatic result in the end. But we earned that right. We earned that right by being intense, moving the ball quickly, accurate passing. Our central midfielders, Xhaka and Torreira, competing in that central midfield area, supplying a team with players in their best positions who are able to make the right contributions from their best positions. I have to say Mkhitaryan took a lot of stick yesterday, but I thought that he was instrumental in that team goal, which I know you're going to want to talk about, Lee. But yeah, I thought Mkhitaryan was quietly effective from turnovers and used the ball really intelligently. He's one of these players who basically, for me, he does the really hard things simply, and that's a test for me of a really good player. So as I say, I was really excited watching this 4-4-2. And I think that led to a really good performance of everybody in their best position. And I don't think anyone had a bad game yesterday. There were some great performances. It's very hard to pick a man of the match. And obviously, Lacazette, I feel, was our best player of the day for his 2 goals. But some great combination play, which I like to see. Partnerships across the pitch, I like to see. And then players coming off the bench wanting to do well for the team. And I think he kept that 4-4-2 shape. Fulham flipped to a back 4 in the end. But by then, I think we were in the ascendancy. It was too late. But yeah, refreshing to see that 4-4-2 yesterday, Lee.
Yeah, like, a couple of points from what I made from yesterday. I don't know about you, Harry, Phil, on this, that it seems like that Emery's game management to the games is great. I felt that there was a real plan in place yesterday, that it was to be Welbeck and Iwobi up front, tire them out, and then we bring on Aubameyang and Ramsey and kill the game. It seemed something like that. There was a method behind what he was doing. Did you feel that, or did you feel that it was just?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Unai Emery, we've seen incredible game management so far. That's got to be the biggest positive, I'd say. We've seen him make changes early, yes, maybe you could argue that sometimes he hasn't got it right from the start, but the fact that he's willing to put his hands up and say, maybe I didn't
not
get that
stubborn.
right.
Great
Let me
point.
make that change. That
Great point.
is a massive attribute. That is a manager who isn't too proud to acknowledge that he's made a mistake. And that is massive for me. I think the level of detail we're seeing from Emery is incredible. You know, his assistant, Carcedo, comes out in the technical area when we got a set piece and he's directing which set piece routine we go with. So obviously they're doing work on that, which is something we've never seen before, particularly in the Arsene Wenger days. You might have seen it back in George Graham's day, but not under Wenger, you know.
Thanks for that, mate.
We've, you know, I'm George Graham, not you, Graham. But you know, we're seeing a different level of management here. We're seeing our players seem a lot more sophisticated tactically. They're able to switch systems during a game, which says to me that they're doing work on it. They're learning, they're understanding, their education is growing. And people like Iwobi, you know, I agree with Graham's point that Fulham's formation helped us initially, because I thought Iwobi had plenty of room in sort of that right back channel because Christie was trying to bomb forward. So, you know, I think Fulham tried to play with a sort of five at the back when they didn't have the ball in order to try and stop us, and they ended up shooting themselves in the foot a little bit. So, but it takes a good manager to spot that, and it takes a good manager to make sure that you punish it. And that's what I like about Emery. You know, he will adapt. Like Graham said, 3 formations in a week, 3 formations that suited different games. I don't think the formation in the Karabag game at the beginning particularly worked, but he changed it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
he saw it and he changed it, and that's all you can ask for. You know, no one's perfect. No one's going to get everything 100% spot on, but to be sort of insightful enough and educated enough to spot your error and change it is a massive attribute for me, and that's probably the most pleasing thing I've seen from Unai Emery since he's taken over.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt that that was a good thing for him. One thing about Unai Emery that I am liking. I don't know how you guys. I'll just flip that a little bit. Like, I'm going to just change before I come into that lot, because I was buzzing after the game, 5-1, coming away from home, and then you get the negative vibes. It's only Fulham, you know what I mean? Like, it's only Watford, it's only that. I don't know how you guys feel. Like, you know, all right, we've beaten Fulham, and but are we worried that the opposition is not as great? You know, like, I know we're saying we've got Liverpool in a few weeks, or are we just saying that let's just keep building it up as it is and go under the radar? Or are we getting a little bit hurt by it? It's well, you ain't played no one decent yet or whatever. But from my point of view, I look at it and I think, right, yeah, I can get that when we struggled against Watford. I can get that when we struggled against Everton, and we've struggled against Cardiff. But we wiped the floor with him yesterday in a performance that really was buzzing. You know, do you think we was that good yesterday? Let's put it around this way. Was we that good yesterday, or was they that poor, or a little bit of both?
Graham, do you want to come in first?
Good question, yeah.
It's a very good question. I think you know, you always get this sort of like opinion, don't you? You can only beat what's in front of you. That's totally the first point. And I think it's all about the performance at times, you know. And also, we found a way to winning games when we have been struggling in games. That's another positive. I think the Watford game last week, we played a very physical team. We've talked about it last week with those 2 physical central midfield players who basically, that was a challenge, and we were dominated at times in that game. And there have been games this season where teams have carved out chances against us. There are certain things about our defence that still worry me. I have to say, I thought Leno was excellent again yesterday. His starting position is so much braver than Petr Cech's, and he sort of like adds that sort of like, I think, confidence to the back four already. And I think we defended really well yesterday. But you can only beat the teams in front of you. We've been up against different challenges. You've got to remember, Everton was a good win. I thought that Everton are, in my opinion, on the players they've got quality players, Everton. So, all right, I don't think that they're a top side. But people say, well, Arsenal's lost to Man City, was schooled by Man City in the first game of the season and lost at Chelsea. But we played those 2 games straight away, didn't we? I mean, so, you know, a lot of Emery's sort of like stuff that he's bringing into the team was still bedding its way in. And I think that his training ground work is is starting to see, I think, in the performances, and it's all about performances as well as results. And I think that I think it's a lot of positives to take from the performances. I think we're growing as a team, but I don't think anything's pretty much changed from what Harry talked about last week. I think it's all about getting back in the Champions League. Let's not get carried away, Lee, saying that we're going to challenge for the title.
No, I totally agree.
And I think that let's keep a bit of perspective. I'm not getting carried away. It was just refreshing to see a really good Arsenal performance playing great football, the sort of football that was known in the Arsene Wenger era, wasn't it? People,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Harry saying to me, what's the difference between a Wenger team and an Emery team? And the Wenger's teams always played great football, but this was the first performance from an Emery team where they played fantastic football this season. And you can turn around and say Fulham were poor, but at half time, I'll say this, Lee, I don't think anyone see that being a 5-1 result, did they?
Certainly not. I didn't.
No, it was 1-1 at half time, and basically, in the end, we carved them open, and it was an emphatic victory. But it's only because we earned that right. I thought we competed with them in the first half, and we matched their intensity in that game. They've got some good players for them. Schürrle, Siri, Mitrovic has been scoring goals this season.
Well, just about to say that he's got 5 goals this season.
Yeah,
so he's up there as one of the top goal scorers. Didn't get a sniff.
Yeah, and he didn't, and that's the credit to Mustafi. Yeah. But we negated their threat, didn't we? That's what I enjoyed, and we earned the right to play our expansive football. And in the end, we won a convincing victory. Let's sort of like not get carried away with it and say this, we're sort of going to be challenged for the title, but at the same time, not be too negative about it. Let's just enjoy the performance. So in answer to your question, I suppose, danced around it a bit. Yes, we haven't played the top teams in this run in the league at the moment, and Liverpool's just around the corner. Crystal Palace might be a hard test. Sellers Park's always a hard ground to go to. But Leicester will be another test, won't it? And the thing is, the other thing I will say before in finishing off, Man United struggled to beat Newcastle on Saturday, right? Tottenham struggled to beat Cardiff. So there's top teams sort of like who struggle to beat lesser teams. People don't turn around and say, they only beat Newcastle, they only beat Cardiff, when they beat them, do they? So I think there is this sort of like, I'm not saying it's an anti-Arsenal agenda, but I heard Alan Shearer say the other week, Newcastle lost to Arsenal and Arsenal are a poor team. I just think that's Alan Shearer being Alan Shearer, unfortunately. But, at the end of the day, I think that we've... yes, we haven't beaten the top teams yet. The test is obviously where we are is going to be Liverpool. No doubt about that. But let's just enjoy the performances and the results. That's my take on it.
Yeah. Harry, what's your take on it?
I think that when Unai Emery first took over, I think he had the nightmare for opening 2 fixtures. Had the worst 2 fixtures you probably could have asked for, against a strong Chelsea side away and Manchester City, the champions, at home. But since then, he couldn't have asked for a better run of fixtures. And whilst we shouldn't get carried away, we should be mindful of who we've played in that run and understand that, it doesn't really mean as much as maybe some people think it is. And it doesn't mean we're going to be title challengers. But this was the kind of run that he needed to embed his style, to get some confidence within the team. And it's done us the world of good. That's just the way the fixtures come out. The fixtures are randomly drawn. That's how it's happened. I disagree with people saying, you've only played this and that team, because at the end of the day, we're football fans. We pay money to go watch our team and enjoy it, and we want to be happy, and we've come away happy and we're enjoying it. We're buzzing. There's no problem with that. But equally, there's got to be a bit of caution in thought, and you can't go around. I've heard Arsenal fans today saying that we're going to win the title, and it's premature talk. And so whilst I've enjoyed the run, and hopefully this run will continue a little bit longer, and we can really, get some points on the board so that come the end of the season, we're not looking 9-10 points behind the top 4. We're in the mix at least. Then that's what it's all about. And I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not going to sit there and be negative about it. Let's enjoy it. We know that we've played some weakish teams, but you know what? You got to play everyone in this league twice. So pick up as many points as you possibly can. And that's what matters.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. People, as Graham touched on it there, people slagged us off for our 3-1 result at home against West Ham. And West Ham have gone and beaten Everton, and they've gone and beaten Man United. So, every game's different. And, I think we've got to look at it when we go in against Leicester. I'm looking at a tough game. I think Leicester, were very, very unlucky, if you remember the first game of the season, not to get something at Old Trafford. And
Lee, can I just come in and say that
yeah,
last season we were getting criticised for losing to the lesser teams, weren't we?
of course
That's
we are. Yeah,
an interesting point. We used to we were going away last year losing at Swansea, who got relegated. We lost at Brighton, we lost at Bournemouth at the top of my head straight away. This year we've gone away and won at Newcastle, we won at Cardiff, and we won at Fulham, a promoted side. But maybe last year we weren't winning those games away from home. That's always worth pointing out as well.
Of course, you know, I mean, you can add to a lot of games to that last season, you know. So Swansea comes to mind as well. I think we lost to a couple of teams that got relegated, if I remember. I know you know, and I totally agree with that. And the one thing that dawns on me is, you know, and it's always and they've always said it on the pundits and that. We've even said it in the pubs. We can't win without playing badly. You know, we have to be at our best. And all of a sudden now we're getting those sort of results and we're getting criticised again. You know, and I think at the end of it, you know, there's always a banana skin, and you know, it seems that under this new manager and the way the fans are going into it, we're always cautious going into the game. And I'm certainly going to be I was cautious going into Fulham. I'll certainly be cautious going into Leicester, and then obviously like Palace. But then does the pressure come on that game against Liverpool? Whether is that when we're going to be looking at, we're going to just say, look, let's see how it goes, you know? And I think that we've got to take it game for game. You know, I was saying on Twitter to a Liverpool fan, John, earlier on today, that 4 weeks ago I would think that we had no chance of beating Liverpool. But after what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, you know, and Liverpool just dropped their standard a little bit, if I'll be honest. I think that if we can get the 2 results going into that game, I think that we've got a real good chance of giving them a really good game. And that excites me at long last. At long last, we've got a chance of going and competing with teams.
Don't you think that the fact that we're picking up these points against these teams means that we then go into games like Liverpool with less pressure? We don't need to win those games. You know, if we're picking up points all the time.
Exactly, a draw.
Exactly. And then that alters the approach. Emery can be a bit more cautious than perhaps Wenger was last season, where it was kind of like, we've just lost at Swansea, we've just lost at so-and-so, and now we're playing a big team. And if we don't win this, they're going to pull away from us. So we have to play like headless chickens and try and win it. The whole setting is much more comfortable when you're picking up points against the weaker teams. You know, if you draw with Liverpool, so what? No big deal. Even if you get beat, it's not the end of the world. But
yeah, I have to say, Lee, when we played Liverpool last year, the 2 games we played them last year, and we've touched on already the new sort of like team spirit that Emery's forging in the club. When we played them at Anfield last year, we played them. We got stuff 4-0, didn't we? We played them when the team spirit was absolutely at its lowest. We had all that Sanchez Ozil contract situation going on. Players were sort of like there was dressing room disharmony. You know, that was clear. But when we played them at the Emirates, I think around Christmas last year, do you remember they led 2-0, and then in about 5 minutes we turned it around with some great football and led them 3-2. So I don't think we should fear Liverpool.
No, without a doubt.
And on our day, we are capable of beating anyone, I think, on our day, you know. So, and we have got some great footballers, and we'll be at home, and the crowd will be behind us. And there's no reason why we can't go into that team with the confidence that a good run has brought, and take Liverpool on. You have to remember, Liverpool are playing 2 games a week at the moment again in the Champions League against the likes of Napoli and top sides. So they are sort of like, you know, they seem to, on Sunday, watching that game, drop their energy levels, their intensity. And I just wonder whether the players are starting to feel it a bit, you know, already. So by the time they play us, we don't know whether those players will be suffering as a result of some intense games they played, or, you know, so I don't think we need to fear Liverpool. It will give us obviously a barometer where we are. That's absolutely clear. And I think we should go into that game positively, sort of like embracing what Emery wants the team to do. And you know, you never know. I mean, it's ridiculous, really, that we're at home to Liverpool and we're thinking, we're not good enough to beat Liverpool. I think that we've got nothing to fear against Liverpool. You know, if we play to our strengths, it's a game of football. Anything can happen in 90 minutes, and I think we're capable of beating them. And as I say, and I think that the negativity at the moment, we've beaten some poor sides. I get what Harry's saying. The run has been kind to us, but it's building up team spirit, and we've got in a nice run of form going now. So and let's take that into the game against Liverpool and go on the front foot and play with a positive spirit and a work ethic and an intensity and match them, press them the way that they press and give it a good go. And I think this will show where we're at. But let's not be frightened of playing Liverpool.
No, I think that's a good point. The other point at which I was thinking about when people turn around and say, "Oh, you've had all these easy games." Well, so have a lot of other teams. You know what I mean? Like, but what they've done is they've had 3 or 4 easy games, and then maybe played a top team like Tottenham, for instance, have had 3 or 4 easy games, and then they've played. Tottenham's last 2 games were Huddersfield and Cardiff.
Cardiff.
You know what I mean? But no one's saying nothing of that. But because the week before that they played a tougher team in like Manchester City. I got Man City coming up. Who'd they lose to a couple of weeks ago? Watford. You know, they've had some easy games, but we've had like 2 tough games and then the easier games. What could have happened? And that run could have happened. We could have had 2 or 3 easy games, then played Man City, then 2 or 3 easy games, played Chelsea, and we would be in the same position. So I think people are getting carried away with the run of what it is. They're also getting carried away by the opposition, you know. And I look at it, and a very, very good point was made to me by a few Fulham fans walking out the ground yesterday. You know what I mean? You know, those cuts been saying like, you know, what your front 3 and 4 were, you know, they beat anybody on their day. So we've got that when other teams fear our forwards. You know, like, oh, Lacazette was outstanding like yesterday, and you know, then you're bringing on Aubameyang, and you've got like Ramsey coming on, like, you know, we've got really some good pluses to really look at, like, you know.
And I think that would be a key against Liverpool. When we play Liverpool, let's play the football at the area of the pitch where they're not so good, and that's defensively. All right, Van Dijk has been a great addition, but we have got attacking players who can hurt them. So let's sort of like get them on the back foot, get them running backwards, get them defending. You know, let's get the ball down their end and play on the front foot and use our attacking players and put them under pressure. And that would be what I would like to see in that game.
Don't you think, though, against Liverpool, Emery's style seems perfectly suited? Because one thing that Liverpool do is they come out of the blocks fast. And one thing that Unai Emery's done is been very cautious early on in games. So you know, if you can ride out that first 15, 20 minutes against Liverpool and get through that goalless, then 9 times out of 10, you've got a very good chance of beating them. Liverpool thrive on that early pressure, and they catch people off guard. And if Emery is a bit more wiser than Arsene Wenger in the sense that he goes out in that type of game and drops off and sits off for a little while, 15, 20 minutes, keep things tight, then, you know, I think we've got more chance of getting results against the bigger sides.
And I think that's his mentality, Harry, in the game so far. He obviously values the first goal. I think in this run, I think apart from West Ham, we've always scored the first goal. So basically, we've made sure that we've been in the game and got a footing in the game. I think that's what he likes to see. I've talked before about we don't come expansive early in the game. He builds up the momentum in games and makes sure we're in a position not to concede that first goal. It's definitely a tactical approach. I've noticed that this season. So I think, yes, he will take that into the Liverpool game. And you are right. Liverpool, when they don't score in that first 25 minutes, you know, it does seem to have an effect on them. But I think that they seem to sort of like, you know, confidence-wise, I think that if you watch that Man City game, I know they came again in the second half, but they didn't score early. And I think that they used to scoring early. And when they don't, I think it can sort of like help the other side.
Yeah, I know we're going above ourselves because we've got 2 big games in front of that lot. But what I'm saying about that Liverpool game is I don't want to like because you know things go. What I'm saying now is that 3-4 weeks ago I wasn't looking forward to it, but if we can get the results of that, I want to see. I want to see where we are, and I'm going to go in with that game with a lot of confidence. Just going back to yesterday's game, the 2 substitutes that come on, Aaron Ramsey and Aubameyang. Do you think that their performances yesterday were to show the manager that they want to be in the first team and play? Because a lot of people have said, oh, Aaron Ramsey might down tools now. I didn't see that yesterday. I thought he'd come on and there was a little thing of him to say, right, I'll show you what to do. Not in a nasty way. It was more of like, you know, I'm going to show you what I'm capable of here. I thought that, you know, and also with Aubameyang as well, I thought that he'd done it as well. Come on and showed his worth. And I feel that, you know, that was another massive point going into coming away from that game yesterday. What did
you think of Ramsey's goal celebration?
I was just going to mention that. Mention.
What did you make of that, then, Harry?
I thought it was a bit half-hearted, if I'm honest. You know,
What do
Aaron Ramsey, usually he runs away energetically, sort of. I felt like he'd done it all in slow motion. It was as if he was going through the motions with the celebration.
Yeah.
Look, Aaron Ramsey's not going to down tools and not bother playing football, because Aaron Ramsey needs to earn a contract somewhere else if he's not going to stay at Arsenal. So I'm not for a minute questioning his professionalism, but I do think that in that goal celebration, you could see that things weren't 100% right.
Mm.
And in contrast to like Aubameyang, who is essentially being kept out of his preferred position by Lacazette. Yet when Lacazette scored his first goal, he ran straight over to Aubameyang on the touchline, and they sort of celebrated it together. So I think you could see that maybe Ramsey felt a little uncomfortable. I don't know if that's the right word, but
do you think? I see what you're saying there, and I've watched it a couple of times, and I think also on the second part of it, maybe it was because it was such a good goal, we didn't know what to do. I think it was like it was memorised a little bit, like, you know what I mean. It was so good, you know what I mean. The finish, by the way, when I first see it, I didn't think it was as good as what it was until I've actually seen it again.
Yeah,
and you know. I don't know. It's a very, very difficult thing to say. Like, you know, I'm not going to get into the contract stuff and everything like that. I just felt that he, you know, he come on, and him and Aubameyang, I really thought took the game away from him. If I'll be honest, they were both sublime. But
it's a great platform to come on. You know, to bring on players like Ramsey and Aubameyang at 2-1. That is a great platform that we had for them to come on and shine. And I don't know what you think about that, Harry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Fulham were obviously going to try get themselves back in the game. There was space on the counter attack. That's how that third goal came. Nice flick from Bellerin and sort of got the move started.
Should we talk about that in a sec? Should we talk about that?
I was just wondering. I was just wondering, boys, where that goal sits with you in the line of great Arsenal goals. We were looking at the Wiltshire goal a few years ago against Norwich at the Emirates, and I know it's a different type of goal, but the Giroud goal, the scorpion kick. But this was a fantastic team goal, and I've seen some fantastic team goals. I remember Rizicki scored a great team goal against Sunderland. Flicked it over the keeper, but it was 7 or 8 one-touch passes. And I remember Ozil scored a great team goal against Huddersfield, where we passed it around, one-touch passing, you know, playing football the Arsenal way. And that's what I loved about the goal yesterday. It was a fantastic team goal. The way it started from the back, the way Ramsey flicked it over, Bellerin kept it going, then Ramsey kept it alive again. Then Mkhitaryan spun and played it out wide. And then when the cross came in from Aubameyang, the flick from Ramsey was absolute perfection. It was a fantastic team goal. So the question to you two boys is that, or was that, a better goal than the Wiltshire goal at the Emirates?
Not for me. Not for me.
Do you know what I'm going to say? Like, there's about 3 or 4 goals that have stunned, in my time, stunned me as a fan watching games, and I can go back to Ian Wright's goal against Swindon when he chips it in was an outstanding one. Going on to that. I'll never forget the Dennis Bergkamp one at Newcastle. You know what I mean? That stunned everybody.
The best ever Premier League goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the one with Wiltshire that stunned everybody as well. Giroud's scorpion kick when everybody was just stunned in silence to that, and had to watch the screen, and that made so much noise. Robin van Persie's goal against Everton, if you remember that one, when the volley, which was a
and his other volley against Charlton at the Valley. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, do you remember that one at Charlton? I'd still say the one at Everton just had everybody going, and the one yesterday, I've never been in a stadium when everybody was just desperate for it to go, and not for just because of what was going on, and that, to me, you know, all great goals. I think Dennis Bergkamp's one will always get it for the individuality. The scorpion kick was did he really mean it? I don't know, but it was fantastic.
This was a team goal, Lee, wasn't it?
Team goal. As team goals go, people go on about the Jack Wilshere one, which was a fantastic goal, but realistically, it was between 3 players. I think it was Cazorla that played it into Wiltshire and Giroud.
Yeah.
But this one was 4 or 5 players involved on it. It started with a lovely a bit of defending from Bellerin. Lovely flick from Ramsey, another one from Bellerin, but also the key one we spoke about earlier on was Mkhitaryan's pass in that as well. And I have to say the finish for this one was sublime. And I think, if I'll be honest, it comes down to personal choice. And, you know, I've got nothing against Jack Wilshere. As I think everybody knows how much I fought with Jack. But for me, Aaron Ramsey's goal yesterday wins it for me. I thought it was absolutely sublime. And yeah, so for me, I'm going to go for that one. Harry,
Yeah.
over you.
I'm going to sound extra picky, but the reason I go for Jack Wilshere's one is because
I knew you'd go against it. I just knew it. Just knew.
Where would be the fun in agreeing?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to be extra picky here, and the reason I say that is because I thought the flick from Bellerin was class. I thought Ramsey kind of like struggled to get it under control initially. He like headed it forward, and it was like, is it the right pass? And then it's behind Mkhitaryan, and then he has to spin and make that pass, and that is the pass of the move for me. It's an incredible pass.
I agree.
The weight on it's perfect. But then when Aubameyang cuts it back, the reason Ramsey has to finish it like that is because he's played it just behind him.
Wasn't a great ball. Is that what you're saying?
Does it?
I'll get you.
There are a couple of passes in that move that I thought were just a little bit off, and we managed to salvage it. But with the Wilshere one, the technique was perfect. Everything was completely under control, and that's technique-wise, that's why I put that one slightly ahead. But I see what you're saying. I'm just being extra fussy.
Yeah, I think it's just about opinions. What goal, Colin Graham? We've had our two. What about yourself?
I'll get the casting vote then.
Yep.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
It's another alternate Arsenal 11 moment.
Depends.
Isn't it?
We pick the casting vote. Depends on what one you say. Right?
I remember on the ultimate Arsenal 11, we did that video, didn't we? That pod on our ultimate Arsenal 11, and you and Harry sort of like made your choice, and I always had sort of like the decision to make, and I always went against Harry, didn't I?
Yeah.
So
you did, and I haven't forgotten it. Don't worry.
So it's too close to call, I have to say. I've been when I see the tweets out about this, and I was thinking about it all today, which is my favourite one, which is the best one. Technique, is it quality? For me, I mean, the Ramsey finish was unbelievable from that position. So, but I'm going to give it to Jack Wilshere's goal. So, who am I siding with there for Jack Wilshere?
Yeah, bloody siding with Harry, aren't you?
So I'll go for the Jack Wilshere. So the other, I think the other thing is that I think that the Jack Wilshere goal was, sort of like, as Harry says, the technique all the way through that goal. Was just fantastic, but it's too close to call for me. It's first of all, go on.
I'm just saying, it's wonderful that we can talk about two goals like that.
Yeah.
And been witnessing to them, and it just shows you that some of the football that Arsenal can play, it's breathtaking, and to have two goals like that, I can't think of any other team that's had one of them like that. I'm not probably that they have, being a little bit biased, but I've been trying to think of it today who would have a team goal like I can't think of anyone.
Just imagine that was scored by Manchester City.
Oh, they'd be going mad about it.
Exactly.
Or Barcelona even.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Listen, I thought Messi got a couple of goals on Wednesday night that were very good goals. The Suarez dummy and everything like that. But my God, have they gone on about that like he's some,
some Tottenham fan league tweeted me today, said it wasn't even best goal of the weekend. That was Sigurdsson's for Everton against Leicester. Did you see that goal?
I'll tell you what, it was a very good goal. Very, very good goal. But and when I did see that, what he's saying, that's not better than Ramsey's one.
No, he said Sigurdsson's. He said Arsenal fans, I won't use his language, it's a bit explicit, but over Ramsey's goal, but it wasn't even best goal of the weekend. He says Sigurdsson's goal was the best goal of the weekend.
But that's a typical Spurs fan. They don't win anything, so what they're doing is they're trying to use an ex-player to win goal of the week.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was a good goal. I'm not saying it weren't. It was a superb finish as well, But listen, they've got their opinions, those old Spurs down the road.
They haven't got a stadium though, but they've
Do you know what? We've got a group that I play football with at times, and that about 3 weeks ago, before the international break, he put up the old league table and said, "Yeah, get used to that. We're above you again, like blah blah blah." So I thought, I've waited my time. It's taken me 4 weeks, but I've waited my time. I put it up today. Oh, that's it. Typical Arsenal, because you think you're going to win the league now. And I said, no, you've done it 3 or 4 weeks ago. They even forget that they do these things, you know what I mean? Like, unbelievable, But we're above them. And, lads, it feels good to be above them. Normal service resumed,
Exactly.
Do you think that, or we've been a little bit or you've been a little bit cocky towards them?
Nah, you know what? They're just such mouthy bastards. Excuse my language, but they win a couple of games. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread. They ain't even got a stadium. They've got a manager who never wins anything and probably will never win anything because, for me, he's this. I might be being overly critical here, but I think he's lost them big games with his sort of naivety.
Those heroes on Wednesday, Harry. Heroes.
They got absolutely played off the park.
Yeah.
And they got taught a footballing lesson by Messi and co. There was a little kid, Artur, who played in the Barcelona midfield. He was a kid.
Player, wasn't he?
He tore them to pieces. They got people like Eric Dyer in their team, and they're telling me that, and you got Pochettino calling them heroes. That's instilling a loser mentality into the fans.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? And I'll tell you the other thing about that, which is another thing. Like when we got stuffed by Barcelona, when Messi got 4, we was an embarrassment to the Premier League. You know what I mean? Blah blah blah. But now they're heroes. You know what I mean? Like, and I love it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But there you go. It's nice to see other managers getting a bit of stick. I have to say that, like, you know what I mean. Whether it be,
I think the more worrying thing for Tottenham is where their project's going ultimately, because really Pochettino has to deliver a trophy. And I don't think, if they don't win one this year, they'll be going into that new stadium. And I think a lot of the players have stayed because they wanted to go into the new stadium. But Tottenham are not going to be offering massive wages like some of the top clubs. And if they don't win trophies, we saw what going into a new stadium did, didn't it, when we went to the Emirates? So I think, I can see them ultimately sort of like that team breaking up. Then they're sort of like, if Pochettino doesn't deliver a trophy this season, I just don't see them sort of like staying together. I can see 1 or 2 players leaving. And where does that leave them then? I mean, they've had
who cares?
Yeah, exactly. just finally on that though, can you believe some of the bookies were giving evens on Barcelona to win the other night? I mean, I was printing money out on Thursday morning after that.
Yeah,
evens for one of the best teams in the world to beat Spurs. Come on.
No.
Just to finish it off, Lee. It's early in the season, and it doesn't really matter who's above who. But I think the end of the day, they finished above us the last 2 seasons. But even when they finish above us, they haven't won any trophies.
No.
And we've even in decline under Wenger won trophies. So we won FA Cup. So I think despite what Pochettino says, I think they give anything for an FA Cup. I really do.
They would. They'd give anything for it. Like, I know a few of them were moaning because they've got West Ham in the next round of the Cup, which is a difficult one. Because they'll have to go there with a sort of second string side, you know what I mean?
West Ham put them out last year, I think.
Yeah, because they did, yeah. But from our point of view, it's this moment. Look, we're not going to get carried away, but it's just nice to see Arsenal doing well. But what I've gauged over the last few days is that people are starting to worry about us a little bit now. Like all of a sudden, like oh, hold on a minute. Are things happening at Arsenal? You know what I mean? Like we're probably we know where we are and what we're going to be. Listen, if the league table said, if God come down there and said that's where you're going to finish at the end of the season, I would take it. 4th place, above Spurs, them out of the Champions League. I'll take it now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and if that means Chelsea winning the league, then fair play. You know what I mean? But that's how I see it. Like that. Just going to turn it around about the international week coming up now. I hate international week. Like is Lacazette? Does anybody know? Is Lacazette in the French squad?
No, he's not. He's not.
So that's a shocker, really, isn't it?
Good
for us. Yeah. No, not good for him. I thought that he'd done enough to get himself at least in the squad.
Deschamps doesn't seem to like him. I'm not sure if anything's gone on there in the past.
Yeah, from my point of view, he's a good goal scorer, but his work rate is unbelievable. He seems like very much of a team player, and by his goal celebrations, I don't know if you noticed that, everybody jumps on him. They seem to like the guy. Yeah. So I can't see, why he's not at least in the squad. I was, I'm shocked by that, if I'll be honest. But as Graham says, good news for us that he's not. So
in that international break, we're going to have a lot of players not going away, coming back fresher for the after the international break. I mean, there's a lot of talk about this under-23 sort of like competition, Nations Cup, isn't it? Klopp sort of like said today that he was very negative towards it, sort of like it could damage his season. I don't know what you boys think about that, sort of like.
I'm not. Do you know what's a good thing from us? I was just changing a little bit. What's good for us is that we don't play till the Monday night, so we've got a few extra days with that. That certainly helps us. I know the following week then we've got 3 games in 6 days. Is it better to have that little bit of a break to play on the Monday, or would you rather play on the Saturday or the Sunday?
Well, sorry, Harry, as a fan, I want to play on a Saturday at 3 o'clock. And
those days are gone, Graham. They're gone. You know what I mean? TV has taken over.
I don't mind.
Harry answer.
I don't mind playing on a Monday sometimes, because Monday for me at work is the worst day. So knowing that I'm going to go Arsenal in the evening, it gets me through the day. So in that sense, and I don't have to watch Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher talk bollocks for an hour before either. So
it'd be interesting when we come back in that game. What do you think he's going to do with the team selection?
Yeah,
I mean, you're a great one, Lee, for sort of like whoever owns that shirt. And yeah. Those players, none of those players deserve to be dropped on the performance on Sunday. And Claude made a great comment today about, does Ozil get back into that team? And where does Ozil, if he does get back into that team, fit into that team? So
I'll say it now. You know what I mean? I'm only going to touch on it a little bit because you don't want all the things in that. Bar an injury, I will be very disappointed if Mesut Ozil starts against Leicester. Very disappointed. He should be on the bench, and then when he comes off the bench, like Aaron Ramsey, like Aubameyang done, is do his stuff, and that's my opinion on it. But if you want and this is what worries me about Arsenal and Unai Emery to a certain degree, I think that he will play against Leicester. But
I don't think it's as simple as that, though. I think it's not just based on the performances. I think what we've seen, Emery wants to use his squad. He believes in using the squad. I think when they come back from international duty, it will depend on how many minutes they've played, how many miles they've travelled. I think that will all be factored into who plays against Leicester. I think Socrates, for example, we've all been praising him the last few weeks. He went out to Karabag. He got a game. He come back. I don't think many people expected him not to start this weekend. So for me, that is due to him traveling, due to him playing and having an injury the week before, and maybe his condition wasn't 100%. So I think Emery's a little bit more detailed in that, and I think he will look into it in greater detail based on all those factors before deciding who starts.
Well, if he does that, I was going to say, Lee, if he does that, then Ozil's playing, because he's not playing for Germany, is he? He's not travelling anywhere. So I just wondered if Ozil was to come back into that team in that 4-4-2 shape, where would he come in? Would he replace Mkhitaryan on the right? I know Emery said at his press conference that he talked about playing Ozil on the right, which suggests to me that if he's going to come back in and we stick with the 4-4-2, Ozil's going to come back on the right-hand side for Mkhitaryan.
Do you know what? The one thing about Mesut Ozil, I'm not going to criticise him because I think he's a wonderful player, but I do feel at times he slows our play down. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, you know. I mean, like we was quick in everything we done yesterday, running off the ball. And Ozil's no slouch, by the way. He's not slow, but I just feel that he's a little bit more intricate. You know what I mean? Like to pick a pass where we was, it was like the balls were into space and we was running onto them a little bit more yesterday. Listen. People will say that Iwobi's been playing fantastic. I want to just go on to Iwobi quickly, like while we're at it. But like with Iwobi, I think he's played really, really well. But I think he could be sacrificed for Ozil, and it does worry me that I'm going to say, guys, you know what I mean? That Ozil seems to have a free pass. He plays for 2 or 3 games, and then last week it was a cold. Now it's a back spasm. You know what I mean? Like what? Is that what's really wrong with him, or are they just putting up little smoke screens? You know what I mean? I really don't know. And it does worry me that you've got all this money on one player and he's not, like, for instance, Xhaka, you know what I mean? You either, we were having a discussion about this today, Xhaka to me is Marmite. You either love him or hate him. But one thing, he's there week in, week out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Puts his body on the line, puts in a shift, works really hard. But he's there the next week. He's never hardly injured. You know what I mean? Like, but the reliability has got to come into it at some stage, and it is a worry. It is a worry.
I think there's 2 things with Mesut Ozil, Lee. One is we've heavily invested in Mesut Ozil. he's earning £350,000 a week, and he's on a long contract. So that obviously has some, whether you like it or not, I think that is a factor. And then we're looking at his numbers, aren't we? I've just written some down here. Since 2013, he's most Premier League assists, the fastest to 50 league Premier League assists of any Premier League player. He beat Eric Cantona's record in getting there in fewer games last year against Watford. He's created more big chances than any player in the Premier League. And only Ericsson has created more chances in the Premier League, and it's taken him 30 more games to do it. So you can't argue against statistics, and we're paying him massive wages. I think the one thing I'll say about your argument that's correct is that he shouldn't automatically walk back into the team. I think that it obviously is top quality. We have to recognise that. But if that team the previous week, Mkhitaryan and Iwobi in those wide positions, were so good in the match as they were, they surely should start again next game. Ozil should be on the bench. And then I'm not saying he shouldn't come on, and I'm not saying he can't come back in. But no player has a divine right to walk straight back into any team.
Exactly, and that is the key. That is the key. And I do think that if he, like for instance, so Aubameyang was not well this week, and he hasn't come straight back into the side. You know what I mean? And and I agree. What you've got to do, what's right for the team and the team ethic as well, like, you know what I mean, and the group, and if you're giving someone special treatment, I don't give a monkey's who you are. Somewhere along the line, you're going to resent that.
But is it special treatment though? Because if I'm the manager, and I'm looking at our next game, which is Leicester, what do I expect Leicester to do? Claude Puel's their manager. I expect them to come to the Emirates, sit behind the ball, and try and hit us on the counter attack with the pace of Vardy and Demar.
So you're saying you're going to need someone like
so you're going to need someone like Mesut Ozil to unlock the door. So him coming back in the team could be a tactical thing. It doesn't mean that if he comes back in the team, it's because he's got a divine right and he's above everyone else and he's going to walk straight in. For me, tactically, it makes sense. And I think with Emery, that's how he looks at it as well. I think he's going to look at the tactical side of the game. I don't think you'll see him play a 4-4-2 again. I think it worked yesterday. It was fit for purpose yesterday.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're going to see that at home against the likes of Leicester. So it's about being adaptable. It's a squad game nowadays more than it's ever been, and that is.
So
we're with FansBet. We're obviously being sponsored by FansBet, right? I mean, you've got a fiver. You've got to put a fiver on. Does Mesut Ozil play against Everton or not? Graham, no statistics, just a yes or no.
No.
Oh, he's put a fiver down.
Can I just say that I based my answer on that team yesterday was every player in that team played well. So, but I think that I agree with Harry. I think he will play. If he plays a 4-4-2, he's going to replace Ozil on the right hand side. He'll take the place of Mkhitaryan. But I think that what he'd do, and I've got this funny feeling, is what Harry said is correct. I think he'll flip back to the 4-2-3-1. The question is going to be whether he moves Ozil centrally. If Leicester are going to sit deep, we want someone like Ozil on the ball, creating from central position, don't we? And not Ramsey. So the question will be, he could bring Ozil back centrally and maybe keep Iwobi in the team out wide. And if he does that, the question then be, he's going to obviously Lacazette is going to be down the middle, so Aubameyang is going to be out wide again if he plays it. That formation.
I think what he'll do is he'll play, like you said, the 4-2-3-1. But when we've got possession, he'll ask Torreira to tuck in between the two centre backs and get the fullbacks bombing up either side, and then you end up with sort of a back three when you've got the ball, because we've seen Torreira do that, particularly in home games, where he just drops that 5 yards deeper in between the sort of two centre backs, sort of a little bit ahead of them. But I think in a game like that, you need creativity. You need to be able to unlock a defence that are going to be sitting on the edge of their penalty area. And for me, that I would put my fiver on Mesut Ozil starting.
Yeah, I'm with you, Harry. I'm going to go with a fiver on Mesut Ozil starting, So, and I think unfortunately, Mkhitaryan and Welbeck, who've done very, very well on Sunday, will be the two to be dropped out.
So does Iwobi stay on the side then for Ramsey?
Well, Iwobi or Ramsey. Listen, I liked Ramsey in that position he was in yesterday when he was getting on the end of things, when he was dropping from deep and made a lovely little run for the goal, obviously, and also the lovely little pass for a Bangham to get in. Like, you know, the reason that Ramsey done okay because there was obviously space and gaps. You know what I mean? And I do concur to what Harry's saying there. I'm going to agree with Harry. Not very often that they're going to agree with him. That I think that the space is going to be limited, and probably you're going to need someone that's going to be able to open it up. But as I said, I think from my point of view that's the way that they go. But I would like to see Mesut Ozil for the right decision be on the bench. But I get what Harry's saying as well. So my fiver is going to go on Mesut Ozil will start, like, you know. But,
can we just sort of talk about Iwobi for a minute then?
Because I think we're going to finish off with Iwobi because do you know what? I felt that, you know, I saved the best to last, really, because I think that
because I have to say I thought yesterday he was an absolute revelation.
Last couple of games, I think.
I mean, I'm not saying Emery's going to do a Guardiola and turn him, you know, sort of improve him in a way he improved Sterling. But the one thing I've noticed under Emery, he seems to be, his passing is really slicker. His end product is better. And he seems to have real aggression and physicality and belief in his play. And he's sort of like not afraid to take people on. And that's the sort of player we lack in this team, don't we? We've said it before. So
he could save the club thousands. It could save the club millions and millions of pounds if because we're all saying, oh, we need a wide player. We need a wide player. All of a sudden, if he starts doing what he's doing at the moment, you know, do we need that wide player?
No, I agree. I agree. I think Iwobi's been fantastic. I think Iwobi's always had potential. I've always been one of those people that defended him, and I'm not just saying it now because he's playing well. I've always said he's very skillful, he's very strong. He's always had sort of vision and taken up the right positions. Where I've been critical of him in the past is that he's lacked the end product, but he seems to have found that now. And Iwobi's a confidence player. That's as clear as day. He's someone that needs confidence, and I think Emery's done a fantastic job with him. He's obviously put his arm around him in training. You know, he's rewarded his performances by giving him more game time, and that's great. And he can only get better, in my opinion. He's skillful, he's quick, he's powerful, he's strong. He's got every attribute that you need to play in that position and be effective. And at times when I've criticised Arsenal for not having that player that takes a fullback on one and beats him with a bit of skill, Iwobi's exactly that man.
And he's done it on the last two games, Harry. He's done it, and that's what we've been crying out for it. I know we didn't score from it yesterday, but actually Bellerin had the shot, which was a fantastic save. He stands the fullback back up and then takes him on, and we've not had no one do that for a very, very long time. And that you know, I think if I look back on it, Iwobi got a raw deal because he missed a sitter against Spurs a couple of seasons ago. I don't know if you remember that, when he was through and he just hit it straight at the keeper. And I don't think he's ever really, the fans never forgive him for that a little bit now. But I get a feeling that the fans, because he's come through the academy, that the fans really do want him to be a success. And, you know, for him to come off yesterday, doing his work that he'd done on Thursday, to a standing ovation, all the fans singing his name, I do feel that he can get better. Whether he's going to be the one that will save Arsenal millions of pounds, that's another big question. But from my point of view, the last couple of games he's done really well. Changed the game against Watford as well, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think he deserves a start against Leicester, if I'll be honest. Why not?
Yeah. And I think the thing is, though, just coming back to, will we need a wide player? He's a wide forward. He's not a wide player. We haven't got someone who hugs the touchline. And I think the sort of players we're being linked to the Pavon and the Vargas, not so much Vargas, but certainly Pavon. Pavon's someone who's an out-and-out wide player, isn't he? So, but Iwobi's more your wide forward. And yesterday, we've talked about it on the pod tonight, the way Fulham sort of like played that 3-4-3 and Christie was sort of bombing forward all the time. He had plenty of space to work with, but give him credit though, he drove into the space. Arsenal identified Fulham's weakness very quickly yesterday and exploited it, and Iwobi was behind our best moments. And also the other thing I liked about his play yesterday, Lee, was he was combining, you saw it with the goal, he combined with Monreal sort of like fired it across, and I have to say the way Lacazette took it on his left foot and then spun. It was like 180 degrees turn, wasn't it? Quality. And then he hit it in with his right foot. That was absolute quality. I jumped out of my seat when that went in. So, but you know, Iwobi yesterday was behind all our great moments going forward. And he's clearly, I think, going to be the breakout player this season under Emery. And he's fulfilling that promise we always had. I said before, he's got a great chance now to define himself in this team, to actually, sort of define a spot in the team. I don't know what you boys think. Do you see him as a number 10, a number 8, a wide player? What do you think is his best position?
I think where he is now is probably his best position, if I'll be honest. I think because he works hard, he gives us something a little bit different. The thing is with Iwobi, and I don't blame Arsene Wenger so much for this. I think that he's matured as an individual.
Yeah.
I think that he was young, not taking it as serious as you probably should. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, he was always promised as a kid that he was going to be a first team player. It come to him a little bit too easy. He's realised now that I also think, I don't know if you guys think of this quickly, that maybe he was close to being on the exit door, and he's realised that, hold on a minute, I want to stay at Arsenal and I want to be here. And I think that he's grown up a lot, and I can see that in his performances. I see that in his
maybe Lee
demeanour as well.
Yeah, maybe Lee didn't think that he belonged in the team. You got to remember, he's still only 22, 23. And when he came into the side, he had that great start with that goal at Everton, at Goodison Park.
Yeah.
And he scored his first, or was Watford at home his first goal? I can't remember. But you got to remember, he came into the side he was very young when he came into the team a few years ago. And he was playing alongside Sanchez and Ozil. And that was a big step up, from the academy. But, I think now he's matured as a footballer, as you say, and he's still young, but obviously now he's that bit older. And I think you're absolutely right. I think Emery's put his arm around him, Harry, what you said. And I think he's bought into the team ethic and the team spirit. I think he obviously... I think Lacazette and Aubameyang are like the personality of the team at the moment. We saw that the way he ran to him when he scored the goal at the weekend, Lacazette. But I think Iwobi's part of that, and I think that he's got potential to be a really great footballer. He's sort of like, he can play number 10, he can play number 8. He's got a lot of power and pace. I think would you say he's bulked up this year, Lee?
Yeah, I think so. I think he is.
So I think he's, and that's again comes down to maybe his training. Yeah. But yeah, I think that I think he'll be our breakout player this year. I'm not saying he's going to be that wide player. He could play wide, and he could play in a number of positions, and possibly we still need a wide actual winger. But if we're not going to buy a winger, if we can't get one, he can play wide, and that's why he's playing well enough at the moment, I think, to keep a place in the side. And with Ramsey. Ramsey with the contract situation, it'd be interesting to see whether, because I think it's going to be Iwobi or Ramsey when we play Leicester. Leicester are not going to have Morgan, by the way, are they? He's suspended again, so it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, good point.
The way he's played this season, I think that's a good thing for him.
Before we got to wrap up now, boys. So quick, because I don't know if we'll be doing one next week because obviously it's International Week and we'll have to sort something out because obviously the following Monday we'll be all at the game, us three. So it'd just be Craig doing on his own. So that won't work, will it? So quick predictions for the Leicester game at home.
I'm going to go with a 3-0 win. Feeling confident.
Oh, Harry, 3-0. I'm impressed. Graham?
I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. I'm gonna go 2-0. I think that Arsenal will keep a clean sheet. I think I've been impressed with them in the last few games, so I'm going to go 2-0. And Vardy will cause us a few problems, but our new goalkeeper will be off his line to remedy any of those little things that he does. So 2-0.
The only thing I can remember last season, they hit us on the break, as Harry said last year. We beat them 4-3, didn't we? It was that the game of the
first game for Friday night, wasn't it?
And we took the lead with a very early Lacazette goal. And I think Vardy couple of times got in on the outside and put crosses across our box. So that's something we've got to be careful of. I think Emery will have done his homework on them and he would have known that they basically play on the counter. They look to use Vardy's speed. And I think one thing, we've got Torreira in the team now. Torreira is somebody who's going to sit in front of that back four, and I think he's going to be coming across and cutting down that space.
That space, yeah. That's great. Anyway, guys, that's it. We'll have to wrap it up there. So fantastic result, of course, on Sunday, and I think we're all still buzzing from it, really, aren't we? And it's a shame the international break comes on us now, but it does. So without further ado, Graham, thank you for your insight and tactical thoughts on today. Harry, just thanks for agreeing for me on one
I
thing.
know. It's a big day for.
It's a big day for us, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We've made a connection at last, you know what I mean?
Can I just send my best wishes to Craig?
Yes, definitely, like, you know.
And I hope the session went well tonight, and I wish him all the best. And not being funny, one of the things I love about this pod is the chemistry between you and him on the pod.
Yeah,
and I missed him tonight.
Yeah,
I missed
it's not to be honest,
the same without him, is it?
It's not the same without him. I'll tell you what, I've got to say, I'm not going to blame too much smoke up his pipe, but he is a very, very good host. He's very, very good. You know what I mean? Puts me to shame. Like, and I have to say, he's very, very professional about it as well. Like, you know, so and he just sort of like brings it out and makes it very comfortable. So yep. So we're all wishing him well, and I know he was a little bit nervous about going today, like, so hopefully it all went okay. I'm pretty sure it did, and we hope to see Craig in a couple of weeks' time anyway. Guys, thank you very much, and thanks for listening to the show and watching it, and we value your support, and it's fantastic all the feedback we get on here, and all the lovely comments we get, and it is very humbling when we get all of that. So thanks for you guys for listening and commenting. We do appreciate it. Until whenever, because we don't know when it's going to be. So until hopefully Arsenal are climbing up the table and we're winning games again, we'll see you soon. So up the Arsenal.